Everything's under control. Situation normal.
What happened?
Had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and good afternoon, evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. RP RPG's podcast. Ted here, John here, as we fumble through another edition of the RP RPG's podcast.
Only the live stuff.
Yeah,
we're generally very professional when we're recorded.
Well, you know, it helps when you have the ability to edit. You know what you're doing. That's usually pretty good. Hi guys, how are you? Clearly, the current coronavirus quarantine has melted my brain. And I am unable to function in society right now. So we hope you all enjoy this. We hope you're able to see us. Might be a bit of a delay right now, but I think most of the time people can see us. So how you doing, John? How you been? How is quarantine life treating you?
I'm going crazy. I think I'm crazy. It's been, what has it been? A day? Plus this weekend, I guess. I've been self-quarantining for 72 hours, and I'm going to lose it. I think... Can you imagine how much easier this would be with sports?
Oh yeah,
like so much easier.
And it's not even sports. Like Jeopardy's going away. I never watched Jeopardy, but I know a lot of people out there watch Jeopardy. Yeah, Jeopardy's closing down. What? There are podcasts and videos and all kinds of things. Movies that are all kinds of things that are being delayed and shutting down. It's going to be long.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, we hope you guys are safe. We hope you guys are healthy. We hope you all are taking this as seriously as you should. We talk sports here. We love sports. We talk sports all the time.
Weekly
even. But you know there are more important things out there. There are certainly more important things, and it's important to be safe. So yeah. We hope you're safe. We hope you're doing well. We hope that this thing passes over quickly and we can get back to doing things that are fun.
But I don't have a lot of. I've been watching a lot of news, and I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to be a pretty quick thing. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about the latest on that and about how long we can potentially expect to have no sports, or outside, or friends. We can talk about that. But it is it's not great, Bob. It is a real big bummer. Actually the thing that drives me the most crazy, Ted, and I'm sure that you probably feel the same way, is that I'm in my house, you're in your house, most of my friends are in their houses, but people are still going to bars.
Yeah.
People are still going to restaurants. People are still going to Disney World. People are just standing, doing whatever the hell they want, wherever they want. I'm losing it. People got to get in their houses, or I'm going to get really mad. I'm going to put like with the plague doctor suit with the raven with the long. I'm going to walk around with that, and I'm just going to spray people with Lysol that are out and about until they go in their houses.
Yeah, it's not great. It's wash your hands. I mean, I think most of us, have finally businesses are at least allowing you to work from home. And it's sad because we were just getting into the regular season, and we were just getting into talking about soccer. We've been away for it for 3 months, and now it's like we're away from it again. And
another off season with no player movement.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Who knows? Our team's banned from being able to add players right now. I know some other leagues have kind of put like moratoriums on it, but I'm not sure if MLS has. If they put
I don't think so.
Yeah.
If you've been paying attention today, it seems like all the MLS social teams have been unleashed. Like they spent the entire weekend brainstorming what cool things they were going to do. And first of all, they stole my idea, which, by the way, the challenge was issued and never accepted, which means we won.
Yes.
But to play FIFA as an analog to real soccer. So we won by not having Cincy Soccer Talk ever respond to us, despite Dave Johnson retweeting and commenting on it. Whatever. Hey, it's fine. We win. It's no problem. But teams started to do that. Teams started to play each other. They were like live broadcasting the highlights. Very cool. I like it. That's sort of my idea. But today, DC United is doing a bracket, all-time jersey bracket, which is good content. I hope they don't go too fast because they're going to run out of their good idea too quickly, and then they'll be like, I guess we could show that O'Neal Fisher documentary thing again. Wayne Rooney goals. I don't know what we're gonna do.
So I'm gonna, since you opened with a clip, I'm gonna put a clip about and I'm going to tease our guests for not accepting our challenge.
Woohoo! The two sweetest words in the English language. Default, default, default.
So that's what I'm going with. We win by default. But yes, I'm sorry. That just is so perfect, and I could not pass up that opportunity. Please don't sue us, Disney. I guess, I mean, it's hard. I mean, so on the one hand, I mean, this seems like we were already preparing for a long season. We had Ola Kamara, of course, go down with a hamstring. We had Joseph Mora go down with a hamstring. It almost seemed like that this team was heading up for long. Now it's like they have a week. They had a week, and it looks like they were going to play for the next game. We're wondering what we're going to do, and then everything just kind of stops, and it's very strange and it's very weird.
Yeah, if it wasn't what it was, you would almost call it lucky. But unfortunately, it is what it is, so it's not. I made a tweet that now, and with the clarity of it being where it is now, I was sort of gleefully excited about the fact that DC United now would get the chance to fix their roster without losing points. And now we're also all stuck inside of our houses. So maybe it wasn't worth it. Maybe
no, certainly it certainly wasn't worth it, and it's not worth it at all. I would much rather be watching this Ola Kamara-less DC United play Cincinnati last weekend. Have a game to talk about. Number one, have something to talk about.
Eric Sorga highlights.
So Eric Sorga, which a listener pointed out I pronounced incorrectly.
I was never gonna say it. I was gonna. I wait till the listeners do it for me. That's how we keep our relationship nice. Is I don't call those things out.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I understand. We don't pronounce names well. We don't. We try. We do our best, and somehow we still made MLS Soccer's best podcast list, which tells you everything.
You better believe it. Basically, we made like the yellow pages of podcasts on MLSsoccer.com. I almost call it MLSsoccer.net. For you old internet heads, I believe that used to be their URL. So we're on it. Other podcasts are also on it. So if you're watching this, you've listened to us already. So thank you.
So
thanks for doing that.
So let's talk about this from the perspective of the season in general. And there was a lot of talk about sort of the beginning about, would MLS sort of play behind closed doors, and the idea was that they were never going to do that. It was not even an option. There have to be fans there. MLS is uniquely positioned in that because they have these stadiums and they have, ticket revenue. Right now, ticket revenue makes up a majority of their salary. And it's we're hearing a lot of other teams are paying their, hourly employees, which is great. I think it's great to give them that income. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be hurting from this financially too. This is something that I think that's going to impact them. So I'm happy that we haven't heard of any, MLS owners being like too cheap not to do it, basically, like we have from some other leagues. But the league's going away, and it's hard. The MLS does have the gift of having a shortened offseason now. And so they do have a sort of a shortened off season, a shortened season towards the end of the year. They end in October as opposed to December. So they do have some time. They can sort of branch out the schedule. But I guess at this point, it's probably too soon to really speculate as to what they're going to do or how they're going to, spread the season. They obviously have the room to do it. There's obviously one of the biggest things for me is the Open Cup is suspended, and USL is already saying they're not going to participate in it. They're going to focus on trying to reschedule their games, which is really sad. It's really sad.
They should. That makes the most sense for that league and that tournament at this moment.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. It's still really sad though, because that's something I look forward to every year. I look forward to watching the Open Cup. I look forward to watching games against amateur teams. It's part of the fun of American soccer. It's tough. It's really tough right now to sort of watch sort of the season kind of dissipate and watch the ramifications of it. I mean, they're being felt all over the world, I think, in the game of soccer. The Premier League is on hiatus. Bundesliga is on hiatus. Everything's kind of on hiatus. The Champions League is on hiatus. It's tough. It's tough, and it's tough on multiple levels. And hearing also, what more could have been done to sort of avoid it is also tough to hear.
And before we get any sort of accusations of myopia or anything else, obviously the soccer we're a soccer podcast. That's why we're talking about it. But on the pyramid of like the bad shit that's happening because of this thing.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I know that you know that. I just want to make that clear for any of our listeners that we, more important are the 400 some people that died in Italy today, and the fact that the peak is reaching there, and we don't know what chaos has erupted in this country particularly.
No, we are in no way saying that MLS did the wrong thing by not play or anything like that. We are not. They did. Every sports league, some should have gone way sooner than others, and in other cases, and even MLS I think should have gone probably way sooner. It shouldn't have gotten to Thursday. I'm pretty sure it was Thursday, or it was Wednesday or Thursday, before the game. I think teams were preparing to travel. They were talking about there were all these precautions that were supposedly being taken. They should have shut it down. Once the cases started to rise in the U.S., once it was very, very clear this was here in the U.S. and having large sporting events, the announcement when Seattle announced that they were postponing the game against FC Dallas, the whole league should have come out and said at that point. But I think MLS moved in, a little bit reactive, but they moved it away. Absolutely, all these sports leagues made the right decision, not valuing, profits and margins and recognizing the seriousness of the situation, and hurting their bottom line in the end. This is going to have an effect on their bottom line, and they made the right decision to do so.
Liga MX played a couple games behind closed doors that I watched, and I was truly very thankful for. I watched all of them, and I was like, man, I'm going to miss this. This is going to go away soon. And then it went away right after that. So there are no more Liga MX games. By the way, I don't know if you guys can see over my shoulder. My dog is sleeping right over my shoulder, just fully passed out. I think the camera's probably not sharp enough, but he's right over my shoulder. So anyway, we this break had to happen. It's now, I think, everywhere except for Australia. Australia is in their finals for the W League. I think Russia might still be playing. I think Turkey's playing.
There are some leagues out there that are still playing. It's
fifth division in England, I believe, the Blue Square Premier, or whatever the fifth division.
I think
now
they just suspended. I think all of England's pretty much suspended at this point. So and there have been a lot of stupid comments related to this about how they shouldn't suspend, and there are certain leagues that did not handle this well. And it's really. What's that?
Greg brought up a really good point. He said, look up the Philadelphia World War I parade in 1918 and how it gave Spanish flu to half the city and killed thousands of people. The leagues did the right thing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, imagine how quickly it could have passed around in a packed stadium. Particularly, I think Nippert, that was their home opener. I'm just thinking about our universe. A full house in Cincinnati in the rain probably would not have been a great setting for a virus that's all over the place. So anyway, we are bummed. We're gonna keep doing this podcast for a while. I think we put out a call. I said, please help us have things to talk about, give us content, and you gave us a lot. So, and you're continuing to do so in the chat. So thanks for the people that are joining us for this live episode. I said when we talked about it, what else are you guys doing? Take a break from watching the news for 5 minutes, or doing whatever else you guys are doing, streaming Netflix like I've been doing for the last couple of days. And this will be a 1.5 hour break each week where we can think about other stuff, or at least try to think about other stuff. So
yeah.
You want to talk about U.S. soccer?
Yeah, let's dive into this one. The one tournament that sort of did finish was the She Believes Cup. The U.S. women go on to win it. They beat I forget who they played. Was it Japan? I want to say.
And the She Believes Cup. I believe that was the last game they played.
I believe it was the last one. This whole week has been crazy. It feels like it's just been a whirlwind. Yeah, they won 3-1 over Japan to win the She Believes Cup, which is good. But the the game almost had kind of a back seat to what was going on behind the scenes. Essentially the lawsuit that's going on right now for equal pay for the U.S. women was the arguments were linked, and it is just about as bad as you could expect for U.S. soccer. I would argue this is probably the worst I've ever seen U.S. soccer, and really their arguments and the law firm they chose and everything that's come out of this is just awful. It's so terrible, and there are people out there that argue these points. There are people out there that show up, that show the scrimmage that the U.S. women played against the U15 team, as if that is some sort of indication of the talent and the skill we see out of these U.S. women every week. And the goals they scored against Japan were absolutely fantastic. Every one of them. Mm-hmm. You had Megan Rapinoe's free kick. Kristen Press had an absolute screamer. I mean, there was undeniable skill, talent, and to see the U.S. soccer sort of make these arguments, basically saying that biologically men are better than women. It's despicable and it's awful. And Carlos Cordero has resigned, as he should. It's quite unbelievable just how far U.S. soccer has fallen, and quite how they have completely just absolutely done themselves in. Carlos Cordero as well. And I'm not really sure where we go from here. I really don't with U.S. soccer. It just keeps getting worse. It's like every time you think, okay, we're coming out of the tunnel, and then it's like there's another equally longer tunnel of just badness. It's honestly it's caused me to not turn off from the women's team. The women's team is still incredible, but it's caused me to turn off to the idea that U.S. soccer is learning its lesson and getting better. So I'll let you get some thoughts in as well. It won't just be me being upset.
I mean, you definitely have in general more feelings about the national team, so I think that makes sense.
It's starting to wane. It really is. It really is.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, so I don't oppose the hiring of Greg Berhalter like a lot of people. I don't get in. I look at what he was trying to do, but just the whole federation in general. So when I hear news stories about MLS teams not giving their players up for the Olympic team, I'm like, good, don't do it. Just keep your players where they should and have them compete for spots, because at this point, why should you even donate anything that you don't have to this U.S. soccer organization? I also feel steadfast to the belief that it's not up to MLS to succeed as far as developing youth American players. They should develop and pick the best players that they can. It's up to U.S. soccer to do that, and right now U.S. soccer is failing at that very clearly. So, yeah, it's affecting my relationship with the U.S. national teams in general has been hurt. But
so in the chat, the question was: is it a good sign that he resigned so quickly? I think they didn't have a choice. Yeah. I think every single one of their major sponsors told him that he had to go. Yeah. They had to fix this problem quickly. And now, the day he quit, I don't remember if it was Alexi Lawless or I think it was actually Grant Wall who had an opinion piece like he has to go right now. And then he was gone that day. I think people have commented, particularly that much more astute observers of U.S. soccer overall than we, that clearly this was not Carlos Cordero was not in charge. It was not the sole person responsible for these lawyers' course of action. This is a multi-year, multi-administration problem that has persisted. Now, can this change sort of bring about the more wide-scale change that needs to happen? It could. I don't know much about Cindy Barlow-Cohn. Some people might. If you do in the chat, you want to tell us more about her. But I think it's probably good. I think particularly in light, solely from an optics perspective, clearly this is the right move to put a qualified woman in charge as this is going on. Everything else aside. But I think nothing gets resolved until the pay dispute gets resolved.
Yeah.
No matter who's in charge, no matter what other changes have to happen, that has to be fixed. And And you could tell as soon as U.S. Soccer put out the release a few days before this whole thing blew up, where they were like, "Hey, we said we'd pay the same for sanctioned games," and they said no. And of course, that was revealed later. Like the She Believes Cups would not qualify. Other things would not qualify. The only thing that seemed unreasonable to me in the thing where I sympathize a little bit with U.S. Soccer was that they were saying that the women's team wanted the difference in the purse between the World Cup to be made up by the federation. So like FIFA gives 100, say the numbers are different, but $100 million for the men and $50 million for the women. They wanted U.S. Soccer to pay $50 million because FIFA didn't pay enough for the which is no, that I don't think they can do or should do, but certainly they should be able to put pressure. The federation should be putting greater pressure, particularly as the predominant or the dominant force in women's soccer. They should really be like, hey guys, let's pay them more. We really think you should. They should really be using their power and authority in the sort of the global soccer market to make that happen.
So quite quickly, you don't agree with the idea that they should potentially put together the earnings of the men and the earnings of the women and say, I mean, because here's the thing. Yes, they can go about and say, they can go ahead and go and demand FIFA. Here's the thing. FIFA combines the men's and the women's World Cup all in one stock and barrel. They combine the rights, the revenue they report is they don't report separate revenue for the women, the women's World Cup as they do for the men's World Cup. That's at least what I've heard. I think the women would be right in asking U.S. Soccer to say you should combine the men's and the women's earnings from World Cup revenue all into one, the bonuses, and divvy that out equally. In my opinion,
my understanding, it wasn't earnings based; it was the purse that that FIFA itself gives to the winners.
That's fine. Take that money
which
and take
is
that
a
money
pot of money and a different administration.
Well, take that money and put it together. That's what Australia did. Australia combined whatever they received from FIFA for the winnings for the men and the women is put into one pot and distributed out to the players equally. I mean that to me seems like a good solution to this problem. And maybe I'm completely wrong, but I mean if FIFA's not gonna clarify as to what their earnings are for the Women's World Cup versus the Men's World Cup, or if they're not going to do that, in my opinion, that seems like a pretty equitable way to do it. It gives the women more equitable pay, in my opinion. I mean, I just think that's what Australia did, and that's I think some other national teams have done as well. I want to say Denmark, and I don't know why. I could be completely wrong. I know Australia has done it though. But it seems to me that's a good way to do it. And maybe I'm completely wrong. And feel free, the number right here, down below. Call in if you think I'm completely wrong about this. But I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
I think I'm just saying that if you win, you should get the full purse. The purses should be equal, but they're not, and it's not a question of earnings. It's not a question of men versus women. It's that the FIFA has decided that this is the purse, and the purse is not coming from the federations necessarily. It is saying if you win this, you get this, and if you get second, you get this. If you get third, you get this. But I mean, they wanted, if the U.S. men had won, they wanted whatever that would have been, even though that's a different organization, a different tournament, that's not money that U.S. Soccer is taking and not giving to the women. It's just money they never got because FIFA decided that the tournament should be not the payout shouldn't be equitable. That's my understanding. I doubt we're gonna get calls on that, but if we did, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you want to start on our and assuming the phone's gonna ring off the hook here? Do you want to start running down the questions, the many questions we got?
Yeah, let's go.
User MTB. This is a bunch of letters and a bunch of numbers. Thoughts on the Hyundai A-League? Can anyone catch Sydney FC? ESPN Plus has this past week's games and highlights show. Also from Australia, replays of the Westfield W League semifinals and this weekend's grand final of the Westfield W League. ESPN Plus, thank you. All games played with no fans. So assume we don't have takes on the A-League quite yet. Assume we just started watching this weekend with probably a lot of other folks. I care because of two reasons. Sam Staub, Audrey Bledsoe, I think Crystal Thomas, is playing still. I think one of those teams might have been eliminated in the semis. That's why I was paying attention to the W League. Don't really care about the A League. I don't really have a dog in that fight. They I get up early, and sometimes those games are still on. So that's about the only time. Them and the Indian Super League are the two leagues that come on at like 4:30 in the morning when I'm up on Saturday for some reason.
Yeah,
But
I have watched some.
you have A-League thoughts?
No real thoughts. The game times are hard to match, and as far as like I think games are on at like 2 a.m., 12 a.m., 10 a.m.
Something like that.
I am not a 22-year-old college student anymore, so by the time it gets about 10:30 or 11, I'm starting to crash. So I have not been watching the W League. I will full throttle admit that. I really don't have thoughts on this, and I'm sorry to the person who asked the question.
I know. I think this dude is a secret Australian. That's what I think is going on here. Looking at this is from Rich Lucky Duck on Twitter. Looking at our injuries and signings, we seem to have a lot of midfield depth, but not as much in the back and super thin up top. What moves could we make to generate more attack? Well, that's been the theme of our show, I think, the last month and a half, 2 months.
There's a certain U.S. men's national team player who is not getting time, and apparently the DC's interested in signing him.
Mr. Bobby Wood, who apparently FC Cincinnati tried to sign, could not come to terms with. That is the rumor is Bobby Wood is that guy. We need more forwards. From a body perspective, just physically need more forwards. He would be one of those. He would be a guy that plays forward and is a guy that can play. We're happy with that. I think that the good thing is, we are going to get our left back. He'll be back. He will definitely be back by the time we're back. So Joseph Mora will probably not miss a game. There's a question later about O'Neal Fisher or Joseph Mora, which we'll not have to answer because it will be Joseph Mora. But yeah, I think that they're, I'm hoping that we start to see some moves here. They've got nothing but time. The front office is working from home like we are, I'm sure, hanging out on Zoom.
As long as there's not, I do know, I forget, some leagues have put moratoriums on transfers and trades while the leagues are kind of shut down. I'm not sure if MLS is going to do something like that. But it doesn't mean, I guess, you can't be talking. You can't be like talking to players, and once they open it up, it's like anything. But I will say Bobby Wood is interesting, and there's a lot of talk about it doesn't really change things for DC. I think it potentially, with the formation that we're seeing DC play, we've seen DC try to shift to a more 4-3-3 type attacking position. I think playing Bobby Wood out there, and Ola Kamara can play on the wing. He did it for Los Angeles. He hated it, but there's an option. I don't know. Maybe Bobby Wood could play on the wing. I don't know. Maybe. But I think it does sort of bring back what it at the very least does for DC, in my opinion, is it does sort of bring back some tactical flexibility, so to speak. And right now, Ola Kamara, it was just 2 games. He got injured, but Ola Kamara didn't show well in the first couple games for DC. I was a little bit disappointed. Again, he's still learning the offense and everything like that, but I was not impressed, I guess you could say. I was very much kind of disappointed with how he looked. So I'm all for the team, signing a player to put some pressure, and they need depth. So if it's there and the price is right, go for it, I say.
And Ted has, I think, the over on the 18 goals for Ola Kamara, so I think he really wants. Of course, now any bets made will probably be invalidated because I don't think we're getting the full schedule in here. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. I really don't. Right now I could see MLS fitting in 4 games. I think it's a question of, do you think they do something like cancel the Leagues Cup or something like that? Does that maybe go by the wayside? And because they like, nope, we got to fit games in now. We got to cram games into the season. So that would be interesting.
I think they're gonna have to cancel more than 4. I think they're probably gonna cancel at minimum 8.
Yeah, we got 8 weeks. 8 weeks. I think 8 weeks is what the CDC has. So that's through May.
And that's based. I mean, all the numbers that they're coming up with right now are back of the envelope, wide butt guesses. They don't have actually any clue. So, Rich also said defensive midfield pick 2. In a perfect world, who are you picking?
Honestly, it would probably be Russell Canouse and Junior Moreno for me, based on what we saw from them. What we saw from them in sort of that 2018 season and how well they played together, and just the idea that they should be able to get to that level. I love Felipe, but I would like to see this team not continue to sort of rely on Felipe. So I'm hopeful that O'Neal Fisher and and Chris Odiastom can get up to speed sort of in this time period and sort of make that right back get Knaus out of that right back position and back into the central midfield conversation.
I would pick Moreno and Felipe. I like the current setup. I think that Knaus is not better right back, but I also think that Felipe and Moreno, despite only having 2 games together so far this season, I think have looked okay. And I don't know, what you said, Knaus Moreno was great. Had 3/4 of a season of being really, 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 really good. So maybe they could get back there. I'm bummed that Knaus is stuck at right back for the foreseeable future and making this not an actual choice. It's making it just sort of these are the bodies we have and this is where they go. Although we have a new player who will probably figure into there in some way. What's his last name? I already forgot his last name. The guy from Crew.
Abu
Mohammed Abir.
Yeah.
Right. Well, he's not played at all, and he's from Valorenga. I at least know where he's from, what team wise. So give me half a point for that. At Echelon on Twitter said, if you could see a behind the scenes documentary of any season for DC United, what season would you pick and why? There's a couple other questions, but let's tackle that one first. 2013 would be interesting. Just to see what the vibe was like in the locker room.
Yeah.
2013 is Open Cup year, right?
Yeah, it's the Open Cup year.
The league worst season that manages to win a cup final in a sort of a otherwise large void of trophylessness on either side of that. I think that would be interesting. We did get to see their celebration in the locker room, but maybe that would be a very sad documentary. That would be a documentary where there's like really, really droning music the entire time, and it's more like a war documentary.
I mean, if you watch Sunderland till I die, I mean
like that.
the awfulness of that. I mean, there's no relegation. I mean, the biggest thing looming over Sunderland at that point was relegation. So that made it maybe a little bit more interesting a documentary. Looking forward to season 2 of Sunderland till I die. I hope that comes out soon, because goodness knows I need it right now. But I mean, I would say 2013 is a good choice. I'm like trying to think, like, I guess for like happier times, 2004 for me. That was for me the moment when because I mean, yeah, you have to understand too. I've watched the team or been a fan of the team, really since '96. I went to games, I saw all the players, but you're also 6, 7, 8, 9. Your interest and your focus on what you're doing has changed because I was a kid. 2004 was kind of the first time I really started to get into that, and that team for me was very special, and just the players I saw. So be interesting to sort of see that, and to sort of see all the crazy stuff that Peter Novak did, apparently, because apparently he was that type of coach. He was a little bit on the borderline insane side as far as being a coach. So
was that the year the Hristo Stoichkov injury where he broke the dude's leg? Was that year?
No. That was 2003, I think. That was a while back. That was in the bad times, the first bad times before the now bad times.
The second much worse bad times.
The
real bad times.
The MLS forced bad times versus the other teams have money and we don't bad times.
Right. Yeah, the weird thing about watching yourself do a podcast is you get to watch yourself touch your face live and be like, I'm not supposed to touch my face, and then you just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just noticing that. Next question from the same guy. Is it really a DC United game without DC Washington singing the anthem? No. It is not. Mm-hmm. And hang on 1 second while we continue. Talk for 2 seconds. Talk, Ted. I'm going to be right back. So talk about why you love DC Washington.
Well, I love DC Washington because he's the best podcast host around. I have no idea this show is completely flying off the rails, people. I apologize. If a call could come in and rescue us, that'd be great.
I have here for you viewers. I have a signed photo of DC Washington.
Boom.
That I have in my house.
Look at that.
So if that tells you anything about how I feel about DC Washington, that I like him, that I agree. Without him singing the national anthem, it drives my wife crazy because I know exactly how he sings the anthem and like all the little weird things he does, and I just do it in the stands. So yes, the answer to that is is good. Will we ever score a goal from the run of play? Yes.
Yes.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Who gets the first one?
I'm gonna stick with the horse I rode on. I know I just talked about maybe moving into the way. Maybe I'm not impressed with him, but I'm gonna stick with Ola Kamara.
You better if he's getting 18 or 19.
Well, now who knows? I mean, I might get bailed out by the lack of a schedule or games to play.
Yamil Assad is my pick for whenever games resume.
Gosh.
You're
just making me sad, man. We would look so hard, and our producer says Gressel. Producer's got Gressel. I don't know. Gressel hasn't. If Gressel moves back to the right side after this prolonged quarantine, Armageddon, new future that we're living in right now, if Gressel moves back to the right side, then I will agree with you. But right now at the center, I'm not too convinced.
Quick diversion. I got to tell you, it's very cool to be about to have a baby. In like a month with just what's going on. Like Dan Steinberg just had a daughter, I believe also. And he was Ides of March and under a pandemic. I was like, man, that'll be me in a month. Like it is high stress. So everybody in about a month, send me your good vibes. Cause I will be very, very stressed out for a number of reasons. Now back to the question, man, there's so many questions at El Haliense. How quickly will United's front office use coronavirus to claim Benny can't be held responsible for the team's play this year because they had to deal with coronavirus? Well, they will. They will for sure. I think I made the joke while that was going on that this is like every development department of every nonprofit being like, well, we can't hit our targets this year because of the coronavirus. So when you evaluate our year, remember coronavirus. It was hard because of that. So yeah, I think everyone will have a pretty good built-in excuse no matter what happens here whenever this season actually resumes. Good faith question, I'm sure.
It just feels weird. It's gonna feel really weird when it finally does come back, and it's like you're in June and like there's only been like you don't even have a good sense of what the standings look like. I mean, it's gonna be, I don't know. Who knows when this will be back? I mean, I don't know. Do I think they could use maybe? I don't know. If this team plays really poorly, if this team is in the bottom of the league, I mean, can you really use coronavirus as an excuse? I think at that point you have to let them go. I think it's going to be a matter if they just miss the playoffs, if they fall like 8th or 9th or something like that. Maybe just maybe you can get away with it. But I mean, if this team is cratering, then he's gone, and you have to say he's gone because everyone else is dealing with the same situation. This isn't a situation where DC is the only one dealing with this. Every other team's dealing with this, and you could even make the argument for Casper because Casper has extra time that he could use to dedicate to evaluating their roster, putting the ranks. I think what the interesting thing about this is going to be, and there was the defender, Dibiase in France. Does this help in a way DC get him, or does it hurt it? I'm on the sense that this hurts it if the French league decides that we're not relegating anybody, we're just going to promote the two teams that were in the position to be promoted, and then they might want to hold on to him. So I mean, this could affect whether DC gets him. Now maybe they look at it as we want to replace him anyway. We need to get better anyway. So yeah, go ahead and take him. But I mean, this could still have an impact on transfers for DC. I think everybody's also probably in a holding pattern right now because they don't know whether they're still going to be playing games. So I don't know. Food for thought right now.
Food for thought. You're gonna love this first question from Rodrigo RS29. Do you think Pro Rel will come to the U.S. this decade?
Next question.
This decade. That will be. I wonder. Does he mean like the 2020s?
No. What year is it? It's not going to happen.
I also agree that it will not happen.
I mean, regardless of whether I think it's a good idea or not, I personally think, and this is what I think we have wasted. And I know there are people that are going to scream and yell at me. Number one, I've never bought into the idea that we suddenly institute pro rel. To me, it's like these, it's like this some of the economic theories I hear that base it just purely on like some abstract arguments that they make. Well, this means more competition. More competition means better. And I'm like, well, how exactly is this going to be better? The fact of the matter is Pro Rel developed in the England's back before there was big money in soccer. Now there's big money in soccer. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get it, and we should really be spending our time looking for other ways to push U.S. soccer to do a better job developing players, push MLS academies to make their academies free and expand their scouting into other areas, and also to work to make it as low cost as possible to bring in other players. We spend more time doing that than wasting our time about how MLS and U.S. soccer organize their top professional leagues. I think we'll be in a better place. So sorry, I'm sorry the person who asked the question. Pro Rel is not coming, no matter how much you want it. It's not happening in the United States.
Yes, I agree with that. Although we do love it. We love the we love the conversation on Twitter about Pro Rel. It's always good. It's always very fun. This particular individual gave us 8 questions, so
fire away.
Based off, and they're not, you're like the rest of them. Based off of our last 2 performances, who do you think can take the Golden Boot for DCU? And he
Bobby Wood. Next question.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Yamil Assad again.
Yeah,
purely at the fact that he is apparently our designated penalty taker, and he did it with supreme confidence, and he's got more time to work on his fitness. Well, everyone could, I guess.
You're not gonna go with Fred Brilliant after that half volley he had against.
See, there
Miami?
you go. That's the connoisseur's choice that I was hoping you would make, and with the grand total of 6 would be our Golden Boot winner. But that's. So I'll take you.
Brian, our producer is going with Birnbaum, which is also equally
more connoisseur's choice. Sure, we're at that. We've now covered, I think, all of our bases.
If Birnbaum and Brilliant are our leading scorers, either one of 2 things happen: either we are the most brilliant set piece taking team in the history of MLS, or things have gone so horribly bad that our 2, I'm not going to say least athletic, but least agile. Center defenders are our leading goal scorers. So that would be the connoisseur's choice, but probably also bad things are going to follow something like that.
Question 3: what team do you think will surprise the league this year? Colorado appears to not really super suck.
Yeah, I would say Colorado's probably there. I think people still have this image of Minnesota. Their first 2 games, they looked really good. They look like they have done what a lot of other teams fail to do, which is to sort of internalize what happened to you and actually build on this year. It's not a regression back. They got rid of the parts that weren't working and they've installed new parts. I would also look at I'm gonna go. I know it's 2 games. Alan Pulido is going to have a better season than Chicharito. I firmly believe it. It's nothing to do with Chicharito. It's about how LA is using him versus how LA is using Chicharito. They're basically trying to slot him in and try to make him do things that Zlatan did, and that's not his style. And they're struggling to try to figure that out. And Pulido looked like he just completely come on and just blew everything up in the first couple games. 2 really nicely taken goals. So. As much as it pains to say, Peter Vermees is a good coach, and he knows what he's doing.
Who starts, O'Neal Fisher or Joseph Mora? Joseph Mora. Yeah. Could you see Felipe becoming captain for DC United? He truly brings passion to the games. It looks like Birnbaum's the guy now. I think that Felipe is most likely the number 2 when Birnbaum leaves the field, which is never, because the man never leaves the field unless his head is bleeding and then he comes back.
There is, and I think Ben has kind of talked about, I think there is some sort of, the captain's armband goes, there's a lot of argument as to how important the captain is. I think you look at a player like Felipe and he certainly doesn't, need to be the captain. Really, the captain's job is just to talk to the center referee. That's his job. I love Felipe. I love his passion. He doesn't need the captain's armband to be a leader on that field and to be somebody who's going to go out and really give it his all. I'm not sure you want to give the captain's armband to somebody who, I'm sure within his well rights, pulls some antics, so to speak. He was pulling them against Miami. If you watch that game, I think there was we've already had our first opposing player is upset that Felipe's faking it and then tries to pick him up to show that he is not faking it. We've already had our first moment of that.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good. We don't have a lot of that. That historically, this team does not have that guy, and it's good to have that guy. It's more fun to have that guy than to play against that guy.
You forgot about the greatness that was Carlos Ruiz in 2013.
Did he have enough time? Did he play enough games to fake around? I feel like he probably did. I feel I may have blocked a lot of that out just from trauma purposes. But
he got sent off against the Richmond Kickers in the Open Cup game. I think that's the last we ever saw of him. I'm pretty sure.
He was playing after that. He went home. And played.
Oh yeah. He still played. I'm pretty sure he played in 2014 World Cup qualifying for I think he's actually Guatemala. It's not Honduras. Yeah, I think he's Guatemala. Played in 2014 World Cup qualifying for Guatemala against the U.S. I think, and I think he scored against the U.S. I want to say in 2014 too. I don't know why that comes to mind, but that was quite hilarious to watch.
Thoughts on these are still questions. Same guy. Thoughts on the past CCL games that took place before the virus. Do you remember them? It seems so long ago.
See well, it seems to me that the coronavirus saved us from like massive disappointment when it comes to the
yet again. Can you believe it?
Because it was not looking good for MLS. I have to go back and watch. I know Club America trounced Atlanta. I think even when Olympia beats Impact, I think Olympia beat the Impact 2-1 in Montreal. So. Not good. And then I think the other games didn't happen. We didn't get to see LA go up. Obviously, and this is part of the sadness. We watched that LA Leon game where LA made just this. That was for me. That was the best game I watched. I sat there and watched that game, and I was like, oh, I'll go to bed at halftime. I don't think LA's gonna do it. It's 1-0. I'm like, all right, I'll watch a little bit more. 2-0. I'm like, all right, I'm not leaving my couch. It's going to happen. And that game was absolutely incredible. And it's very, very sad that nothing's going to come of that game. That game will probably get forgotten because there was not a finish. It's kind of going to be put up against, the coronavirus and everything that's been happening there. So, I mean, it's kind of a shame because I think the Champions League, I don't know what the Champions League is going to do as far as the Club World Cup. Who knows? No one's finishing their trophy. Maybe the Club World Cup just doesn't happen.
We'll worry less about that. We will. Yeah. We might just be like, you know what, this year, boys, no Club World Cup. We're just not going to do it. It's fine. It's not a huge deal as these things go.
Yeah, as these things go. Obviously.
Liverpool fans likely pissed about other things rather than the Club World Cup, I would imagine. Next question. Does the coronavirus break make DC United stronger or weaker due to no games being played? Stronger, no matter what. Yeah,
I mean the injuries. There are people even talking. There's no hope Paulo Ariola can come back, right? There's no absolute, idea that he comes back this year, right? Even if the season extends. Okay, we'll see. Yeah, but definitely stronger. I guess no one's stronger from the fact that they're not playing games and not training regularly. So I think what's going to be, I think there are certain there's a team like DC that this is in the sense of playing. It's it's a good thing because they were starting to hit that injury list, and then things we were starting to wonder what's this team going to do about injuries. They were not playing well. Things were not looking good on the field. And then there's a team like Minnesota who comes flying out of the gate. They're ready to go. Now they got to go back on ice for the next few months, the next month or two, at the minimum. So yeah, that's. I think it's still a bad thing for most teams because I think it's they're going away. Things you work on, you're gonna have to work to get people back into training. But I think certainly for other teams, it's less bad than for others.
Last question. What are you streaming on Netflix right now? I assume because we're all stuck. I am what have I been streaming? I've been watching a lot of the news, unfortunately, like a big stupid dummy. I watched Big Trouble in Little China 2 nights ago, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I've been watching The Good Place, which is a show that I have wanted to catch up on, and I will now have the chance to do so. Basically, what happened previously is I would just watch The Office and Parks and Rec on a loop forever, to the extent that mostly driven by my wife. I will put my hands up here, but mostly to the extent that my wife thinks that the birth song should be the theme song to The Office because she's heard it so many times that it will make her feel comfortable. And I think that's probably true.
Yeah,
I've been watching mostly the news and then a little bit of good stuff. What about you, Ted?
Yeah, I've been. I think the second season of Dirty Money on Netflix came out.
Oh yeah, I've been watching that too. That's a good show.
Yeah, that's good. If you want to be perpetually mad at how bad
Yeah.
some corporations can be,
How mad do you want to be? You want to be mad? Be mad for a couple hours in a row?
Yeah.
Well, sir, we've got the documentary series for you.
And I was missing soccer so much, so I actually went out. I think I saw it for like $5 on Amazon to buy like digitally, and I bought the Once in a Lifetime, the New York Cosmos documentary. Which, if you have not checked it out, I would highly recommend it. It at least fills at least a little bit of a soccer void, and you get to kind of see what soccer, this idea about soccer never being popular in America until today, is kind of a fallacy when you watch that. And you sort of see what sort of happened to the league and how it collapsed. I wish it maybe been a little bit more in depth than that, but it's certainly a fun documentary. And Georgia Canalia, rest in peace, is quite the crazy, unbelievable person that he is. So
there's also a lot of 30 for 30s on soccer that I can
Yes.
say are good.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
like
Escobars.
if you're like me, you will be wondering, why am I still subscribed to ESPN Plus? Right now, particularly, this does not make sense to have. But if you are going to keep it like part of a package for me, that's why I'm keeping it. But there are a lot of 30 for 30s that you can check out.
Yep.
From Greg, Patreon Greg, he said, any chance FIFA uses the extra international windows they got by moving the World Cup to November, December for qualifying? And if so, does this make the Qatar World Cup hidden genius, or is it still stupid and they just got lucky?
Ugh. I guess I was trying to do the math, and I was busy. I was at work, and I kind of had some free thought, and I was kind of trying to think about how all this works and how FIFA's going to make all this work. And it's I'm not really sure, I guess, how it all works, and what they're going to do as far as the season goes. It's really going to depend on how quickly this resolves itself. And right now, it's not looking like it's quick. It's going to be quick. I am hopeful that shutting down sporting events can kind of, quell the public health crisis here in the United States. But then I see pictures of, people in the beach in Florida. So, I think it's all going to depend on how quickly this resolves itself. This could be no blip. The season might end up ending like a month later than it normally would have. The Premier League might go through June just to finish up the season. They might cancel certain events. I don't know what they're going to do about qualifying. It's obviously it's going to be a very weird year next year, because they're going to have qualifying for the World Cup, and then of course we're going to have that Winter World Cup, which is going to be weird in all kinds of ways. So I'm not sure. I really don't know how they're going to handle it, and I think it's way too early to speculate how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I don't either. But good question though. I think that's a long view question that I think probably no one's asking right now that they probably should. We were told to discuss Eric Sorga's Instagram stories. Ted is not an Instagrammer as such. I am. They are a lot. They are extra. So I would recommend checking his account out. The man likes to flex. The man likes to work out. The man loves bright shoes and being on the roof of his building. Very, big Camille Assad vibes. It's very, very hype beastie. He's 20 years old.
20 years old. That's what I would say. He's a 20-year-old.
It makes sense. Like a 20-year-old dude that is extremely fit and as a professional soccer player, and I think is single, so he's got some time on it. He's got a lot of time on his hands now, so definitely check out his Instagram stories now because he's probably real bored.
A 20-year-old probably making more money than we are combined right now, John. So that's also,
I don't know that that's true.
I'll be curious. I'll be curious about his contract. He makes more money than like each of our salaries, I'm pretty sure. Has to.
Maybe he does, but he's also better at soccer than we are.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
That kind of makes sense. From Dennis Nolasco, what do you think will be the impact on the transfer market? Who are some players who are going to retire at the end of the season, but we have probably seen for the last time now? That's a good question, and I have not thought about it now until I just saw it. I'm trying to think of other players. That's a lot of players just up, but Benny Feilhaber.
Yeah, that's a special. I loved me some Benny Feilhaber. His goal for the U.S. against Mexico was fantastic. I am forever convinced he was the one of the guys in the locker room for the World Cup who spoke out against Jurgen Klinsmann and then was never called back in because everybody knew who he was. But one of those kind of players, I think he's one of those sort of those players who was incredibly fun to watch and also a personality as well. I'll be curious to see where he finds himself because he actually has a pretty entertaining personality as a person. So I guess other players maybe we've seen the last of. I'm even trying to think. Like
I would have said that about Tim Howard, but he's playing.
Tim Howard came back. Who knows?
Not gone well for the one game he was back.
He's part owner and now part player. I'm not sure I've seen like owners become like coaches. I think Gavin, the Portland Timbers owner, was like a coach for a little bit while they tried to figure that whole situation out. So I don't think I've ever seen a part owner slash player, and the dynamic of how that works. I'm not sure how that works. Like if the coach
himself in the lineup, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was like, what does that put the coach in? Like he's not, if he doesn't play well. If he plays well, I guess you're good. It's all good. But if he stops playing well, what do? Do you say I'm benching you, and then Tim Howard's like, nope, you're not. Otherwise, I'll just fire you.
Right. Not a situation he probably wants to be in.
No.
We got some breaking news here, which, if you can believe it, at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when a season shut down, Johnny Northeast, he of the greatest name of any staff member at DC United in recent history, has left the team to rejoin his family in Wales permanently. Apparently, he used to go back and forth a lot. I followed him on Twitter. Players liked him. Seemed like he did a pretty decent job on injury prevention. The number of sports hernias have gone way down. So I don't know if we can attribute that. Probably not solely to him, but we'll give somebody some credit. So we got a caller, apparently.
Oh, we do.
So we should take that.
Yeah. Send him in, producer. Also, we want to talk a little bit about the Spirit. They had some coronavirus scares. And I believe, I'm trying to remember, I think it was, I know Rose Lavelle, I think, had to be in quarantine for a little bit, and there was the undisclosed player that they...
Correct. They cleared her, I think. But they're also done. Like, they're just done now anyway. I think they've stopped their training because the NWSL told them to.
Yes. We have Eric on the phone. Eric, what's going on, man? Thanks for calling in.
Hello. I don't know if you guys saw the Philly LAFC game before the coronavirus break.
Oh, that was good.
I watched it. Loved it.
Loved it.
So that was good. I have a question. I have a question about in terms of DC being able to compete at the top of the East, which I think a lot of us felt at the beginning of the off season, like that might be a possibility after we saw when we saw like the Julian Gressel transfer, and that felt like a steal. After watching the Philly LAFC game, I just feel like without Paul Arriola, I don't know if we have someone on the team who can exert that level of like energy throughout 90 minutes. And I was just curious, like, besides, it's weird to say this, like, coming from a guy who used to hate Felipe, like Felipe's the guy now who has like the passion on the team. Like, how do you guys feel? How can we deal with, I mean, assuming the season goes forward, which perhaps it doesn't, but like, how can we deal with teams that have this drive and this energy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the aerial injury as a whole, I think certainly hurt DC a lot and hurt the team and sort of the drive and just the ability, just how hard Ariel was willing to work on the ball. I mean, I still have hope that they can sort of figure this out and turn it around. I think they need to go out and get a big name signing. I will say one of the more upsetting things was suddenly so Ariola goes down with a major injury, and everybody's like, well, then the breaks, you got to deal with the DC. And then suddenly Jason Martinez goes down, and everybody's like, oh, we got to come up with like a rule to like, get people DP slots back. And I kind of stood up my hands like, all right, so no one's going to, I get Joseph Martinez as Joseph Martinez, but that was just something pre this whole virus outbreak. I just found a little funny that suddenly Martinez goes down and everybody's like, oh, we need to make sure that there's an extra DP slot. You need to be able to get that back so you can go out and sign a player.
Ted, making friends and influencing people in the Eastern Conference fan bases. First was Orlando, and now is Atlanta.
I guess so.
I agree. I think there's not a lot of players you would consider Olsen players in the current 11 as far as like those sort of fiery, get in your face. Felipe is it. There aren't other players who are likely to do that. I think Birnbaum has shown that fire on occasion, but he is generally a pretty calm player. I don't think it's like a hyper necessity. I think you can compete and win without those sort of players, but it is definitely a departure from what this team has had before. There's usually been more than one player on the team that we'll get stuck in. We'll be there to sort of intimidate other players. There's just they need a soccer Tom Wilson to straighten things out. Briant does that a little bit, but probably not enough.
Cool.
I felt a lot of timidity on the field. The two games I saw, there were times where it was just so when you go back to like Moreno, and like he's I have no complaints with him as a defensive midfielder, but I don't see the same drive. Like I'm just drawn back to like the Davy Arnaud eras where it's like people were afraid to deal with our defensive midfielder because he would commit unsavory fouls. Anyway, that's where I'm at. And I don't know. Just a little worried, and I'm a little relieved. I guess the coronavirus gave us a reprieve in this time.
Yeah, it's I think we're both a little bit in the same boat. I mean, obviously, we would rather the coronavirus not exist. Obviously, we would rather be watching soccer right now, even if it's bad soccer. I would.
Oh yeah, I don't mean to say I'm happy people are dying.
No, absolutely not. And I wouldn't expect that of you. I wouldn't expect that of anybody. I think I would rather go through 5 2013 seasons than to deal with what we're dealing with right now. Certainly. But
maybe all these DC United players who will get stir crazy in their houses for the next however many weeks will come back with a lot more fire in their bellies to stick their foot up the opponent just for out of anger. Maybe that'll be the outcome that we can get. We'll have a little more fire.
Until then, if any players want to play us in FIFA, we are open to negotiations. We'll be happy to do a whole podcast where we just play FIFA, and maybe that's something.
You're bored. We're bored. It just makes sense.
Yes.
Anyway, Eric, thank you for calling in. Thank you for listening.
Yep. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of I think where a lot of us are. It's DC has some time, and it's be very interesting to see what they're able to do with it. I think the Spirit I kind of got a little bit. The Spirit had a little bit of a scare. As far as their the coronavirus, I think they had at least one player was around a family member who contracted it, so they went into 2 weeks.
That was Rose.
What's that?
That was Rose.
No, that was Rose. Okay, that was Rose, and I think there were some players with sinus infection. So I mean, the fear is real. The fear is real amongst teams and fans. This is, for the record, this is not just the flu, and I think that's what a lot of sort of messaging that was coming out about this. This is not just the flu, and they're researching. They're discovering upper respiratory damage that can happen from the virus if you get it bad enough. So I mean, you're talking about a player. Permanent damage to the lungs could potentially do it for them for their entire career. So there's a lot of scare. There's a lot of afraid people, and I hope everybody is taking this as seriously as they should.
There was a youth coach in Spain who died today from coronavirus. He also had leukemia. He didn't know it, and when he went in to get a scan for corona, they found out he had leukemia as well, and he died very quickly. So that might be the first casualty. Obviously, there's comorbidities there, but that might be the first person to in the sports world so far to die from coronavirus, and probably based on numbers, not the last. This isn't going away. This is something that it's funny. Like we're just everybody is sort of stuck in the same place, consuming the same information, and taking different things from it. Like some people are just completely, overwhelmed by it and depressed by it, and other people don't think it's real. And other people, if you want to be sad, and I know that you do, join like your local neighborhood like Facebook group. There will be people on there that are like, I went to the gym today, and I'm not going to change my schedule. I'm not going to, I'm not letting the virus win. I'm going to keep doing what I want to do. So it's gonna get worse, and we're gonna be talking about this for a while.
See,
we're all gonna become experts on contagious diseases.
Yeah,
viruses.
I see posts of them like, a virus doesn't care about your feelings. A virus literally doesn't care. It will attack you. You're not showing the virus anything. The virus is not getting its feelings hurt by saying you're not scared of it. It is a
It'll be the first virus with feelings. You're gonna have to go back. We're gonna have to change this. The first, it's new, and
the virus rights group is gonna spring up. All that stuff. That's cool. We got a call in, which is awesome. Yeah.
Yep.
Y'all should.
We're gonna need more of those, folks.
Yeah. Clearly,
we'll give you a break this time, only having one for this call. But we're gonna need to bump that up a little bit.
All right. I think John, you wanted to do this, and people saw this in the beginning. This is our Patreon page we have right here. If you want to join, rfgrefugees.com should be where you go. But join the podcast. Contribute helps out a lot of other things.
Particularly we've gotten a lot of requests to do reviewing old games and doing sort of like commentary over old games, which would be fun, and it will also take a whole bunch of work for us to do that and to figure out how to get copies of these of that digital those assets. So if you'd like to help out understanding that these are lean times and uncertain times, and if you can't, totally understand that, but we would appreciate it. And if you want to help us out in a way that is not financial, which is fine, you could, I think Ted is directing you on here, you could review us on iTunes. I don't even think you need to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, but it would be very helpful if you would review us on iTunes. That helps our rankings. It helps us come up easier on categories and charts and searches. And after you do that, just tell a friend about us. I think particularly as we are, in this weird no sports having sports podcast time, it will be a struggle, and the show will only be as good as sort of the community around it allows it to be. So the more people you can bring into this group, the better. The more diverse voices that want to, have questions about other stuff. We'll obviously expand beyond DC United to talk about soccer in general, sports in general, because that's just what we're gonna have to do. So the more people you can bring in, the better. And the last thing you could do, and this actually, I wrote this down, it now does not make sense to me considering everyone's stuck in their house. What I was going to ask you to do is put a sticker in an inappropriate place and send us the picture, and we'll publicize it and give you another one. Now, don't do that, because that would mean you're out of your house. Stick your sticker somewhere in your house and take a picture of it, and then we'll send you another one. I guess that's what we could do with the sticker thing. Or just wait 8 weeks.
Yes. I think Rich tried to call in, and unfortunately the Skype dropped. So we're sorry, Rich. We will definitely catch you on the next pod for sure. We are trying. Well, hold on. Our producer's typing right now, so I'm gonna see maybe if we can get him back in for one more comment. But yes, Patreon.com, donate to the show. Help us get better content and better things to do. This show all came about, the live show and how much we did all came about because of Patreon supporters. So it definitely your money is not going into a money pit. It is definitely going to
extremely
use.
Not
Extremely not.
Extremely not. Everything that Patreons have given us have allowed us to do this live podcast, allowed Ted to have a better microphone, and finance things like these coasters, stickers, other materials. So it is a lean operation. We are doing it's, without it, we would obviously scale down and be, just, in the dark and podcasting into our laptop microphones. But we're not, and we appreciate that, obviously.
Yes.
But that's just where we're at. So I think I think we should wrap. I think we've had a good run here.
Yes.
Please call us in next week. We're gonna do same bat time, same bat channel. We will make sure to solicit more feedback from you guys about what we should be doing in the break. Ted and I could play FIFA and talk over it if that interests you at all. And I don't think that it necessarily will everybody, but if it does, let us know and we'll do it. So that way there's more stuff to do and more RFK refugees related content out there. But we'll still do the podcast anyway, so you can download that and listen to it while you're doing dishes, since you're not on a community anymore. You're just probably in your house.